Hello guys, Deni is with you as always. There haven't been many open world games coming out lately. Well, there are only a few really good ones, and here are all these gems I have collected for you in this video without Dragon's Dogma, because it was everywhere and you clearly did not miss it. Click on the like, click on the subscription. If you haven't subscribed yet, well, actually, let's go. Let's start with something interesting right away. This is Bellwright. The game is similar to Medieval Dynasty. It's also the Middle Ages, the construction of a settlement and all this. I love that one and that one, so I went to test this poor thing from early access almost immediately. During my short time, I built a village, hunted, hacked with robbers, and pumped turnips with my neighbors on quests. This is necessary in order to invite more residents to the settlement. He even repelled the raiders' attack. For 9 hours, there were a minimum of bugs and not a single critical one. The cooperative was immediately delivered so you can play with friends. The residents are hardworking, they chop, build, assemble, cook, and all in this spirit. I had to pick grass and cut down trees myself only in the first hours of the game. Now the village is almost self-sufficient, but in battles, NPCs are just as slow-witted as in Mount & Blade. Stupid and lazy, but otherwise it's still fun to play. Mindless beating zombies with a stick in some coastal town is what awaits you in Dead Island 2. The game itself is good, and 67% of reviews in Steam are reduced mainly due to the fact that you will have to download EGS on PC even if you run it from Steam. Or rather, not even EGS, but Epic Online Service, so that you can play with the players who bought it there. Yes, by the way, the game is cooperative, as it should be, so you can arrange bloody brain-crushing action in a cooperative. Well, the gameplay formula of the game is the same as in the first part. Absolutely brainless beating zombies. That's right, because when you try to disassemble the dead carefully, it doesn't turn out so effectively. The game is for those who love Doom, Wolfenstein, or the new Trepang 2. We turn off the head and beautifully kill the evil spirits that are bursting from the depths of hell. Age of Water was released here. I came out and took a big shit at first, dropping the reviews to 32% positive. This immediately discouraged many players from buying this game, but still, over time, the situation has improved a little, and now you can play the game. Gameplay is a cross-out in a completely open world. Well, also on the water. That is, instead of various cars, we have boats here. They are completely assembled by your hands at your base. Armor, guns, turrets, places for sailors in general, everything is completely customizable. New items for customization you can mine by going around the world, doing PvE quests, or by encouraging other PvP players. The online of the game keeps around 2,000 people, which is not very much, but on the other hand, there shouldn't be a hell of a lot of ships in the open ocean. You will still meet players, and even more often than in the same Sea of Thieves. Do you know Elden Ring? Here, take the Elden Ring and throw a Bikini Bottom instead of the World of Elden, and Mr. Krabs instead of the main character. This will be the new Another Krabs Treasure. People who play calling it the best Souls-like of the year from Mr. Babazaki. The game can really be recommended as a children's entry point into the genre of Soul-likes. The action is quite simple, but there are some finds in the form of shells. Each type of weapon has its own special skill, strength level, and weight. While skills greatly change the tactics of combat, and strength changes due to the frequent change of shells. Even within the same battle, you can try 2-3 different shells with different moveset. Even the parries were brought here with timings. But the most imbecile feature is accessibility settings. In fact, you can make a simple action from a Souls-like action, which is very nice if you are stupid somewhere and already you just want to drop. You can reduce the complexity and run. Moreover, the settings are flexible. It's not just a choice of difficulty. In short, funny shit. And this is a legend made by one person, which blew up the Steam charts, reaching 170,000 people online. This is probably the most realistic strategic Middle Ages game ever. If you like the medieval era where you can build your state with politics, write laws which allows you to choose which way your settlement will go, and at the same time you want to fight troops, as in real-time strategies like in the Total War series, only here, the size of the army is not so large and there are few varieties yet. Then feel free to test. So far, the game is still in early access, and even the multiplayer has not yet been added. But when it will be added, most likely the game will become even cooler. And this is a Stellar Blade with a semi-open world, which is unfortunately only available on PlayStation. But in my opinion, this game is one of the few cases on this platform that makes you wipe the dust off your console and go into the game. In every sense of the word, Stellar Blade is clearly inspired by games like Bayonetta and Nier Automata, but does not abuse it. The combat system may seem slow and strange at first, but as Eva gains abilities, the action game becomes much more exciting. In short, Sony did everything right. Interesting characters, solid combat mechanics and complexity, great setting and beautiful views if you know what I mean, types and physics. In general, a great game. Let's return to the topic of the Middle Ages, especially since the cool classic MMORPG was released here not so long ago. It's a pretty complicated MMO. After being spammed by a huge number of Korean MMORPGs, this game is like a breath of fresh air. Very nice graphics. It's interesting to learn the mechanics, unlike usual Korean MMOs with auto battle. Developers do not sleep releasing patches and improvements and listening to the community. Of course, there are quests, leveling, and even satiety of the main character. In PvP, everything is cool. We meet outside the city, fight. The result, one in the cemetery, the second goes on with the look of a winner taking part of the loot from the loser's backpack. Feelings of discovery due to the almost complete lack of information and chewed up guides on YouTube. The game is mainly for clans and other collectives. A loner stupidly does not have all the possibilities. There is still not enough content, but they are finishing it over time. Overall, it feels great. There is still half a month left before the release of the third part of the homeworld, but do you want to go into space? You can test Between the Stars. We are the captain of a spaceship here, in the open world, flying, doing quests, and constantly improving your ship. You might think for a bit that these are the good old Space Rangers, but the comparison is not entirely correct. Although there are text quests here too. We will have to travel through different systems in the same galaxy. So far, it is about 20 pocket systems with different tasks from delivery to cleaning, but in the future they promise to diversify. The graphics are generally good, at least the ship and space are gorgeous, but the character models look good, and of course the game has a plot, not a Mass Effect of course, but for this kind of game it's quite good. In the dialogues you can choose answers and influence the situation with the help of dice. In general, you can safely stick for 30 hours. And you can stick to the Myth of Empires for 300 or even more. The game itself is not something new, it's already a couple of years old, but it was released again 2 months ago. A new card was also delivered there. In general, the development of content in the game is going very well. They are even doing Greek DLS now and actively sharing what they will add there. Visually, the game also looks great, and how many different animals and activities there are, it's very cool. To fully understand the game, you will definitely have to play 100 hours. Not only that, it will be necessary to rebuild your castle, so you will also have to drag slaves, fight with other clans, attack all sorts of bandits, and so on. In general, it's a great game in all directions. In Rogue Trader, there is not a full open world, but something similar to Baldur's Gate with some differences. The world seems to be huge and you can go anywhere, but at the same time, everything is divided into different zones through which you fly. Gameplay is the same, a party role-playing game, an excellent plot with twists, a various choice in dialogues, animation of dismemberment in turn-based battles. However, there are no animated close-up dialogues as in BG3, but there are walls of text. But the budget of the game is smaller. At the same time, it also turned out to be very solid. The only thing that can overshadow the adventure is a ton of bugs that are alive even 4 months after the release. And this is an extraordinary but incredibly realistic survival simulator in an open world. On some uninhabited island, developers are in no hurry to introduce unprocessed game mechanics, so there is little content, but what is there is great. A complex, balanced, multifactorial character status system awaits you. The generation of the world is as diverse as the setting allows. Quite logical mechanics of crafting and construction. There is, for example, the sun. You have to hide from him in the shade of a tree or stone because the heat has a bad effect on the character, and if it rains, then wet clothes will not protect you from the cold. Well, if a strong wind suddenly blows, you'll light a fire. And so it is in everything. It will be difficult but fun. When Outpost Infinity Siege just came out, it managed to put together a note of hate and shit up the reviews. But now with the latest fixes, recent reviews have reached the 78% positive mark, which is quite good. Gameplay is a loot shooter with the subsequent defense of the exit point, grind for grind's sake to continue the grind. Imagine PvE Tarkov with the construction and protection of the base, leveling up characters with an abundance of classes, interesting loot, and roof-bearing notches with all sorts of evil spirits. The size of this evil can be amazing imagination, and sometimes enemies will be the size of your base. Yes, there are giant bosses with weak points. Well, fill it all up with epic music from Dark Souls or Attack of the Titans. In short, very cool. Well, that's it for today. I hope you found something cool for yourself, and that's why you've spent time on likes and subscriptions too. Well, Deni was with you as always. Wish all the best.